Chris Frates, congressional correspondent for the National Journal. Chris, welcome.
Hey, it's good to be here, Alex.
I'm glad you're here. Let's talk do you see any sense that we're got closer to common ground here on the entitlement cuts and the growing revenue? Can you assess how far apart the two sides are right now?
Well, they're very far apart, Alex. This week, lawmakers went home for Thanksgiving. The president went to Asia, and top aides on the Hill and in the White House sat down and started negotiating, started giving their opening bids. And what we saw was a Republican Party and a Democratic Party that are exactly where they were last week. When I talked to Democrats last week, I talked to some of the top Democrats in the Senate side, Chuck Schumer and Dick Durbin. I asked them, are you guys putting entitlements on the table going into your White House meeting with the president and Republican congressional leaders? They said, no, we're not. That's not what we want to talk about. We want to talk about tax cuts. Conversely, when you look at House Speaker John Boehner, he talks a lot about putting more revenue on the table, but not increasing the tax rates, which is what Democrats want to do. So when they come back on Monday and Tuesday of next week, they are still very far apart with the clock ticking.
Yeah, but how much do you hear the concept of compromise and from the major players? I mean, you hear those things, the word compromise being echoed around Capitol Hill to some degree, but for those who really have to make the compromise, is it there?
I think so. I think when you look at the tone and the public positioning that these guys have taken coming out of the White House meeting last week, for instance, you had all of the congressional leaders, both on the House and Senate and Republican and Democrat sides, talking about this was a constructive meeting. We think we have a framework to move forward, and we think we can do this. And when I talk to folks privately on the Hill in senior leadership aides, will tell you that we do take this very, very seriously, and there's a different tone than we had a few summers ago during the debt ceiling debate. There is less of a willingness, I think, from leaders on both sides to walk the nation close to the edge of this cliff. They want to make sure that they can do it, and they've even talked about getting it done before Christmas.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing already, Alex, is that with the details come the devil, and they're working very hard to get through them.
But you know, we're looking at this deadline, Chris. This is a huge thing to try to put it together. Why is it that they wait till the very end? Honestly, I mean, if they really want to get something done and avoid the potential of kicking the can down the road again, why not, get this done in a real bipartisan fashion when you don't have just, Damocles sword hanging over your head, the clock ticking?
Alex, I always think of Congress as kind of like a college freshman who waits until the end of the semester to do all the work and all the papers that were assigned all during the semester. And Congress very much works like that. And they are a deadline-driven, reactive institution. And frankly, nobody wanted to give up any leverage ahead of the elections. So they could have done this in the summertime. They could have done it in the fall before election season got into full swing. But understood that the elections would change the power dynamic, and nobody wanted to give any ground ahead of that in case their team came out with a better hand after the election.
All right, well, sounding more like a senior writing his thesis. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, Chris Frates. Good to see you.
Thank you, Alex. Take care.